Hey everyone, this is Stephen Strawn at Cast Iron Cookware, where you can find information to help you better collect, restore, and use cast iron cookware. Today I'm going to be doing a little bit of cleaning on my Dutch oven that I use for French fries. Now I've used it a lot and it's gotten really gummy and sticky and just kind of icky all around. And I'm going to do that coming right up. Before we get started, I just want to say thank you to everyone that's purchased my product, Easy Beezy Cast Iron Seasoning. The purchase of this product helps keep this channel going, and I want to say thank you so very much. So let's get on into our video. I'm going to pull the camera down and let you get a good close look at this really yucky Dutch oven that I have. Now here is my Birmingham Stove and Range number 10 Century Series Dutch oven. Now I'm going to tell you, it looks really bad. It's been used a lot. Even the bell is really, a little bit still a lot sticky. It looks really bad. And you can see I've got a lot of buildup of just a little of everything. Now I'm not going to strip it all the way. And you can see it's ready for an oil change. I'm going to do a little bit of modification on my strainer as well. Now I'm going to clean the lid too. Let's take a look. This is really, really cruddy looking. You're probably going to say, Steve, are you going to go ahead and strip that thing down to bare metal and start all over again? Well, I can do that, but most people don't want to strip their cast iron every single time they get a little bit gunky. So we're just going to do a little bit of elbow grease, soap and water, and a scrubby and get it looking good and get rid of all the excess gummies that are stuck all over it. I'm going to use Dawn dishwashing liquid. It's my personal preference. You can use whatever dishwashing liquid that you like. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is get rid of our oil. Well, me personally, I live out in the country and I do a lot of brush burning. You know, I've got a couple of trees that I've cut down. They're on the top of the hill ready to be burned, and I just pour the grease on top of my burn pile, and when I first get it going, it kind of helps the fire go as well. And my brush fire smells like French fries for a little bit. Leave it in the comments what you do with your old cooking oil. Maybe help other people understand how to get rid of theirs, because it is one of those things. But we're going to go ahead. I've got an old container. I use these quite a bit. We get pretzels and pork skins and all kinds of things in these containers. I like it because it has a large lid and it's easy to pour the old oil in it without having to deal with a funnel. You may want to do this outside. Now look at that gunk. Old French fry bits. Go ahead and drop that right down in there with it. Now let's get our sink ready for our soap. Having a deep sink is amazingly wonderful. This little scrubby comes in handy too. It's not abrasive on your cast iron, it's plastic. And this has actually a little button that you can press and it releases a little bit of dish soap. The worst part is going to be right around the edges, the part that is usually above the oil. The bell is going to be pretty gummy. The outside is terrible. I'm pretty confident in the inside. It's looking pretty good after just a little bit of a thorough washing. But we're gonna have to put some elbow grease in the other parts. Now the bell, you're gonna need to use something like an SOS pad or a Brillo pad, because chances are it is terrible gunky, and this one is. Just gonna go around it, remove all the gunk. You're not gonna damage the surface of it. You're gonna be doing good just to get rid of a lot of the old gunky seasoning. Do the same around the edges. Just run your fingers around, and any big pieces that is sticking up, just give that a good hit. Let's go and cut our water off for just a second. Get where we can see what we're doing. Where you're going to have more issues is where your line level was. Kind of like the same thing as a ring around your tub. It's where the oil that is not under the surface has actually baked on. You give that a little extra attention. And believe me, with a SOS pad or a Brillo pad, you're not going to get below the seasoning surface. So you're not going to harm your cast iron at all. Especially doing it by hand. Right in this little area is where you're going to get the worst of it. We've got another little scrubby here. And you can feel it really sticky and gummy if you have a lot of buildup. I got another little scrubby right here that works good for this. Especially around the edges. And this is just a sponge wrapped in a little plastic scrub cloth. Get to a spot that's really bad, go ahead and get your SOS pad or Brillo pad. Right here is pretty rough. And you can kind of run your fingernail around the edges and see if it needs any more on the outer edge. And you're not going to get rid of all of it. Most likely you're not. You just want to get it where you can use it and not just look too awfully bad. Okay. Now we're going to put our attention to the outside. And you just sort of feel around for the big lumpy bumps. And I can feel it right here where it's kind of ran down the edges. Probably still going to be there when I get done. But alrighty. Okay, my camera played out before we got through doing the washing. I went ahead and hand dried. Now, if you want your cast iron to be like brand new, you need to go ahead and strip it completely. But we didn't want to go through all that. I don't want to lose the seasoning that is there. Now, there are still some sticky places, like right here, where there's a little bit of a clump that I didn't get off with the dish soap. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and put this in the oven along with my Dutch oven. Now, you see there's some places that are still uneven looking. So we're just going to put this thing in the oven on 500 degrees. We're going to leave it in there for an hour. Now, we're not going to add any more oil. We're not going to do anything to it. We're just going to try to bake the old seasoning that's still a little bit gummy. We're going to bake it on until it's really solid. Now, this will also work if you have a piece of cast iron that is a little bit sticky and gummy, go ahead and give it a good thorough cleaning. Stick it in the oven for an hour at 500 degrees, and that will kind of get rid of the sticky gummy stuff that's all over it. So we'll take a look at it after it comes out of the oven. Okay, while our cast iron is in the oven being baked, I'm going to deal with this little thing right here. Now, I like this thing. For number 10, this works out great. Now, you can also get a smaller one for a number 8 and probably even a smaller one for a number 7. And I like this because, you know, you can leave it inside your Dutch oven. My problem is the lid doesn't sit down on it because this handle, I would like to have it where I can just give this a squeeze and get it out, but it's almost impossible. That way I can put my lid, cover the entire thing, and it just looks a lot neater, and I can set this aside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to cut along even with this line here on top and bottom. For the moment, I'm going to leave this part intact. I'm going to see if just removing this part gives me the ability to squeeze it enough in order to engage. So we'll do a modification on that and see how it works, and we'll come back and take a look at it. Okay, I went ahead and cut it off. Not the most beautiful cutting in the world. This is the piece that I took out. Like I said, I left the part in the rear, squeeze it and pop it in. And then squeeze it, pop it out. So I think this is going to work fine. I'll leave a link to this particular one that works great with a number 10. And I'll try to leave a link for one that works great with a number 8. And I do believe if I start having trouble with it being too close, I could probably bend these out a little bit. Give them a little bit more spring. But at this point, I think this is going to work great. Okay, I got my Dutch oven out of the oven, and it feels much, much cleaner. It's not sticky and not tacky, but it still has some shiny places on it where it's had oil all over it. The inside looks really nice and clean, and it is clean. Nil on the outsides. It doesn't have a nice, even collector finish on it. Now, if I did want to get it back to a factory finish and make it look beautiful, I could strip it, but there's no sense in that. I basically go through this particular routine whenever I change the oil. Couple of tips when it comes to doing French fries in a cast iron Dutch oven. Number 1, never, never, never leave it unattended. Hot grease can set your house on fire in a New York minute. So never leave it unattended. You got to babysit it. You cannot leave it. And another thing too is don't overfill your cast iron with oil. I would say go about halfway or maybe a little better. Don't fill it up to the brim because it's just going to boil over. So when you put those cold French fries in your hot grease that's 375 degrees, you're going to have a lot of bubbling action take place. Now, you definitely need to watch it then. And if you see that there's going to be any potential of it bubbling over, go ahead and raise your basket out to let it settle down some. And then if you have to, wait a minute and then ease it back in. Just be careful. Do not let it boil over, because if it boils over, you may have a fire on your hands that you can't put out. Hopefully in the next few days, I get to do a video on how I do my French fries to give you a little bit of a demonstration. I didn't want to make the video so long by doing a cooking part to go along with it. So be looking for a French fry in a cast iron Dutch oven video in the next few days. Hopefully I'll get that out because I'm ready for some French fries. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, please don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I promise I'll keep more coming. And I just want to say thank you again for watching Cast Iron Cookware. Before you go, I'd like to share something with you really quickly. In Matthew chapter 6, verse 31 through 33, it says, "Therefore take no thought, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or wherewithal shall we be clothed? For after all these things do the Gentiles seek. For your heavenly Father knoweth that ye have need of these things. But seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. I just want to say, share the word and be a blessing.